All right.
Hello world.
So, yes, hello YouTube.
Hi.
So, we have anytime you have an equation in this form, y equals something times x, the something is your constant of proportionality. So, if we look at our first equation there, waiting for that to capture, and we look at y equals 8.5x. Your friend has set up this equation to represent y, the total cost in movie, or the total cost of going to the movies for X amount of movie tickets. So I've got my X there multiplied by my 8.5, my Y there. So here, what is our constant of proportionality? Jennifer, what's our constant of proportionality in that equation? Yeah, it's the 8.5. So now alpha, do you know what that 8.5 would represent in this situation? If it's y, the total cost, so I'm going to actually rewrite that equation. They just told us that the cost of going to the movies is 8.5 times, and x is the number of tickets. So what would 8.5 represent there?
Like the amount one ticket costs.
Yeah, so it's the cost of one ticket.
Cost per ticket.
That's exactly right, because another way that we talk about constant of proportionality is it's your unit rate. The constant of proportionality, Miriam, chill.
Sorry.
Constant of proportionality is just your unit rate, the per one of something. Yeah.
What was the answer number to A?
8.5. Sorry, I wrote it off to the side. And actually, if you want to rewrite this, it'll make more sense if you do that. Since it's a cost. Now, as I'm grading your guys' tests, some of you are forgetting your dollar signs, and some of you are forgetting you have to have two decimal places if it's money. Money has to have two decimal places.
Do we have to put the z equals 8.5 times
No, you don't have to, but I rewrote that since they told me y is cost and x is tickets. So I just like to change the variables to whatever it describes, whatever helps me remember the actual words. So what equation would I set up to figure out how much 13 movie tickets is going to cost? Ashley, do you know what equation we're going to use? Or what, like where? So we're probably guessing we're going to use the 13, right? Do you think that 13, since it's movie tickets, is going to plug in for your y or plug in for your x? If we look back up here where it told us what the variables were, the cost is y, the movie tickets is x. So that 13 is going to plug in to the x. So we can say y is equal, that y looks a little messy. We can say y equals my 8.5, guys chill out, times, now I don't always use the dot for times because it gets a little confusing with the decimal point. If you want to show multiplication, you can just put a number right up against the parentheses. So instead of using x, we replace it with 13 since that is our x value. And when we solve for the total cost, let's imagine your parents are very nice, and they're allowing you to take a dozen friends with you, so 13 people total, to the movies. She is out. Nick? $110.50. That's a lot of money. So when you guys are like wanting to go to the movies or wanting to go out to eat or all those things that you probably want a lot of times, you got to think about how much does it cost as the group gets bigger. I love going out with my friends, but I'm never going to pay for all my friends because it's way too expensive.
Isn't it better to just wait till the movie comes out on DVD?
Yeah, I Redbox all my movies.
And watch it at home.
Right? I mean, how much?
That would be nice.
I mean, that's a really good point, Alpha. How much could you do with $110? That would be probably more fun than just going to the movies.
Yeah, to stay at home and totally like.
No. Most things that come out on Blu-ray come out on Blu-ray and DVD. But I could probably guarantee 10 years from now they'll be trying to phase out DVDs, if not have already. So you know what a VHS is?
Yes.
Oh, didn't they take that away? The VHS?
Yeah, they stopped making them.
VCR.
So like because they stopped making them, people stopped using them.
Oh.
So those are the big cassette tapes that videos
I
used to come on.
watch on
Questions?
My question is, why is it more fun to do movies than
Why is it more what?
like why is it more fun to go to movies? Like
I'm
because
turning
our
around.
house we have
Did
like
you
a
lost
chair.
your glass?
Right, I mean, I don't go to the movies. And if I do, I go to the dollar theater. Like the cheap theater down on down by that one mall. Right. Or like they wanna sometimes it's fun if you like wanna go out. Like, you know, get out of the house. Alright, so try to got it on your own. If you have a square, you know all of the side lengths are the same. So we use the perimeter equal to 4 times S, where P is the perimeter and S is the side length. So now we've been told the side length is 1.6. So I want you guys to set up the equation with that 1.6 plugged in where it belongs, and then solve. I challenge you to do it without a calculator.
And if we
So
don't,
you can use it if you must, but I bet you could if you turn your brain on. I bet you could do it without it.
I can do it. I don't need.
Especially when you ask, I'm much less likely to do it. Yep.
well, if they are alpha, how likely can Mr. Hudson not give you the movie?
It is.
Like,
We'll
if
get
you were,
into
like,
probability
picking a
later in the year.
Like,
But solve it, man. Solve it.
Solve it, man.
You're probably gonna have to write it off to the right there. I kind of ran out of space, but I left you space off to the right.
Wait,
So think about what is 1.6. It tells you it's the side length. Yeah. So you're gonna set up.
for this.
We're not there yet. So you're gonna set up this equation. Hey guys, can we just do our work? Stop clicking, making weird noises.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm in elementary school. So the perimeter is equal to 4 times the side length. We're given the side length is 1.6. So we're gonna plug that in. Do you think that plugs in for P or PS? Well, P stands for perimeter. They didn't give you the perimeter. Yeah, so we're gonna set that equation back up, but we're gonna replace the S with 1.6. 4 times, because that's multiplication. Yep, 4 times 1.6 is gonna be the equation. Mm-hmm. So when we set up this equation, remember this side length, that's going to replace your S value in the equation. So you're going to set up P is equal to 4 times 1.6. Now can anyone tell me how we would solve this easily without a calculator? Alpha, you don't have to open your mouth, man. Do you know how, like, what technique it's called? Or how we do it?
Isn't it just the 2-digit?
Okay, so we could do that, but I want even easier. Like you could set up the long multiplication, you could do it.
Could you do 4 times 6 plus?
Yeah, this is what I've done with you a few times, right? So 4 times 6 would give you 24, but it's not 6, it's 0.6 or 6/10. So it's really just 2.4. And then 4 times 1 is 4. Guys, this is just the distributive property, but a very basic application. So my perimeter now, Nick, I already saw you had the right answer. Your perimeter is?
6.4 meters.
6.4. And since this was meters, I love that you included the unit, Nick. That's going to be meters.
I got 6.4, but I got 64. So I put the decimal
So
in
you
like
didn't
the
get
back
6.4.
of the.
And this is another trick for making multiplication easier. You can think about this as 16 times 4, but then you have to just put the decimal back in.
I put the 16 times the 4 at the bottom,
Okay.
and since they were like 2, there was only one number behind the decimal.
Yeah.
I thought they were 2.
All right. So a certain vegetable dip contains 60 calories per serving. So every serving has 60 calories. What equation represents the number of calories Y in X amount of servings? Well, if it's 60 calories per serving, Is this already our unit rate? Is that
Yes.
for one serving?
No, wait, no.
That's for six.
Yeah.
No.
Per
Yeah.
serving.
Yeah, 7.
It's just per one serving. So we will say y is equal to 60 times our x. We want all of these to be in the y equals mx form.
Was in the x1 since the 60?
No, because the x might change. Imagine what if you ate 4 servings of that dip.
4 servings.
6 times 4. 200.
Sometimes a serving is really small. You guys will start to maybe talk about nutrition with Mrs. Yasik this year.
It's gonna be really big.
In a can of soda, you think, oh, the can, it's 1 serving. It's actually 1.5. In a bottle of soda, because a serving is 8 ounces, in a bottle of soda, you have over 2 servings. So you got to, like, when you eat pizza, what you eat is not a serving. There's a serving size on the box, and then how much you eat, you might have to multiply by how many servings. So after class, I got to whiz through the rest of these. So a telethon can take 60 calls in 5 hours. What is the number of calls y? So pay attention to how they phrase this. When they say express the number of calls y, it's telling you that y in your equation is the calls, and then x in our equation is the time in hours. So remember, to find our constant of proportionality, we just take the y value divided by the x value. So to find our constant of proportionality here, we have to do a division. Because we know how many calls they can take in 5 hours. I want to know how many calls she can take in 1 hour. So we set up our y value of 60
Divided by 5.
over our x value of 5, and we get 12. So now my equation is y equals 12 times x.
Why do you keep putting x? Why didn't you just put like 5 hours?
Because this equation is used, that's a really good question actually. This equation is used to figure out at any amount of hours. So what if she works for 8 hours? Then we'd plug in 8 for the number of hours here. So this alpha would become 8. I'd do 8 times my 12, and then that would give me how many calls they would be able to take. Or like if you're trying to figure out how long it will take you to do math homework, and you say, I can do 2 problems in 1 minute. How long will it take me to do my whole assignment? That's kind of how we use the unit rates and the constant of proportionalities.
Yeah, but what if you only got like the y equals x times x, and you're supposed to figure out what x equals?
You wouldn't have x, you at least have to know what the multiple is. Like you have to be able to figure out your constant of proportionality. So if my keys is my y, and my minutes, my time, is my x, again, we have to find the constant of proportionality, but now my constant of proportionality, my y is 60, but my x is 12, and that now equals 5. So now my equation there is y, the number of keys they can make, is 5 times the number of hours that they do it. Or sorry, x is now minutes. So that would be the number of minutes. Whereas this x was the number of hours. This x down here is the number of minutes.
Isn't that the same as the one above? But
It's very, yeah, it's just kind of switched around with the numbers. Tomorrow, we will finish this lesson. We have abbreviated classes tomorrow. So you can go ahead and try 2-4, get as far as you can, and let me know what issues you run into.